We start the week with a brand new state rep who's experiencing the General Assembly for the very first time. Sherry Roberts is here. She is from West Greenwich, and she's got some causes already in her first effort to become an effective member of the General Assembly, and she's got a story to tell, a warning for neighbors there, she tells me. So stay tuned. Interesting way to start the program. Way to go. You tuned into the Dan York State of Mind extravaganza. Appreciate that. We're here every night, weeknight, 7:30 and 11:30. And of course, if you miss a show, you can do like thousands do. I'm always blown away by the number of people who find the program online at foxprovidence.com. Program note, Governor Raimondo will be here tomorrow night for the entire broadcast. We will have a lot to talk about, don't you think? So, program note duly checked off. Let us check the rundown on things that we have thoughts on, prayers, and I mean a lot of them, especially when you see how they're dealing with this whole thing. Yes, as we put our program together today, simultaneously, the big talks on the stadium are occurring. We'll get into some of the headlines and some of the misinformation that seems to be out there. This is a scheme of sorts that some public employees use to jack their pension. Ken Block, Watchdog RI, had a press conference today and discussed it. What else do we have today? It is, and we're not talking about beer. It's getting a little hot in the kitchen down there on yet another police and the people controversy. And Link Chafee, this might have been, well, it was a brilliant way to kind of put it in perspective. And this comedian laid it right on him. He probably doesn't get it though. Kind of a joke. You'll understand when we play it for you. All right, let's dig in and see if we can't make some sense of the world. There's no sense to be made from this, right? I don't know if you've ever been in an earthquake. I have felt the rumble before, a mild one, and it's enough to shake you up, no pun intended, for a long time. Here's the latest from CBS.
The ground began to heave in Nepal at midday on Saturday. This security video captured the violent tremors. In just a few minutes, the quake razed buildings to the ground. We found this search team working furiously, digging through the rubble with shovels and even their bare hands. They've already begun to cremate their dead in Nepal, lighting Hindu funeral pyres for their loved ones.
Okay, I can't even imagine. Can you? I mean, I don't know what to say other than here's how you help. We found at least one source where you could send some dough and help that recovery. You know, obviously governments are helping, but every little bit helps. That's the local Rhode Island. Thank you, Jess. That's the local Rhode Island GoFundMe. Disaster relief, help. I don't know. God has answers, and there is one, meaning a God, so we'll figure it all out at the end, huh? Formal stadium talks. Okay, this is not the casual discussions that we've had with the Paw Sox management. This is the real first, okay, we're down to business with a state agency. Here was a headline on the Sunday Providence Journal front page, and I thought this was interesting. Kate Bramson writes, land purchase now on the table. There's a letter that Mr. Skeffington, Jim Skeffington, wrote to Gina Raimondo on Saturday, kind of making the first formal discussion with the governor and identifying that he would be open to purchasing the state land at 195. Here's the funny thing about that. He didn't say for how much. So people are thinking, oh, maybe there's a new conversation going on here. Well, as we speak, as I am recording the show, don't tell anybody, but we're not live. We record late in the afternoon. They're having this now transparent open meeting at the RI Commerce building, but it's the 195 Redevelopment Commission that's taking this interest presentation from the Paw Sox ownership, including Larry Lucchino, who's down from the Red Sox. He's the president of the Red Sox, right? But a purchase could be $1. I mean, that's exactly what they were talking about when everyone went, what? Over this idea that they would build the stadium for $85 million. They would acquire the land for no charge or $1, not be taxed on it. Then the state would lease the land back for $5 million, and then the Paw Sox would release the lease back for $1 million, for a net $4 million of taxpayer subsidy, in addition to no charge land, in addition to no taxes. And that's what's got everybody in a bundle. So I don't know whether this is now a new, hey, we'll spend $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, $6 million, $10 million for the land. We'll find out as we go. You may have already seen a newscast that indicates. We'll talk about it tomorrow, certainly with the governor who is here, and tomorrow on the radio on WPRO, weekdays noon to 3. So that was issue number one. Then the second thing that kind of got bubbled up here over the weekend and today was the idea of a different site. And I had asked Jim Skeffington when he was here a couple of weeks ago about a couple of other sites. What about Point Street? When I take 195 and I come up 95, there's 6 or 7 acres of land. I had an economic development guy in the state say, hey, Dan, you ought to take a look at that property for those guys because that might work. And or Allens Avenue. Have you thought about those other Providence options?
We have looked at all the options that we're aware of in Providence, including those two. And we've concluded that that's not an appropriate site for our ball club. We think we have better options.
Okay, so I put that to bed. Then over the weekend, I see this Go Local Prov, the website news organization there, with this headline. And they put this graphic together where that ballpark is placed at the spot that I was talking about. And the reason I was talking about it was, did I say that in the clip? I'm not sure. I had an economic development guy tell me that, I think I did, that it was a kind of a cool, smart place to be. And if you're driving up 95, it would be right there. If you're taking 195 to 95 north, Kevin, you put that picture up again for just a second? See if I can explain this. If you're coming from right to left, you're coming literally around 195 to 95 north, and it sits right there. So a lit baseball stadium at night would be front and center, whereas the 195 stadium is set back a little bit behind National Grid's plant there and everything else. Well, anyway, it looks like this is an opportunity that Go Local Prov, without a byline for a journalist, interesting, might have taken to say, hey, there's another site being considered. Well, maybe the people who own that land would like to sell it to the Paw Sox, but there's no legitimacy to this story, it seems, because we went to the Paw Sox Facebook site for a formal answer on this, and this is what we saw. The rumors about an alternative site for the ballpark are not true. So, for those of you who think there's another site, there ain't one. We'll have a lot more over the next couple of days. All right, pension spiking. We'll learn more about this as we go, but Watchdog RI, under the tutelage of former Moderate Party creator and gubernatorial candidate Ken Block, then Republican gubernatorial candidate Ken Block, same guy, Ken Block. Headline here on a press release, Ken Block report critiques generous firefighter pension agreements. And what he does, and it's worth looking at watchdogri.org, he takes as an example a handful of Johnston firefighters. Now, this is the local pension system we're talking about. Johnston is very underfunded in their fire pension system. And he talks about how the spiking occurs. So he highlights a guy who for 14 years, at least prior to his last handful of years, never did any overtime. But in the last 3 years, which is the years you calculate for a pension, like how much money did you make in those last 3 years, and then the percentage gives you the pension, he would overtime his wazoo off, which would then create a bigger check for him and a huge expense for the town.
With the spiking, the town would have to put in every year to fully fund that pension 34% of salary to make sure that firefighter was paid what he was promised when he retired. Without the pension, without the spiking, the number is 26%.
And that's a huge difference. I'm telling you right now, while we think the pension conversation is coming to a close because the state issue might be finally settled here, the local cumulative pension unfunded liability exceeds the problems that we had with the state. Okay? We're in trouble, man, and that's coming to a local community near you. If your local governor or government, if your mayor and council don't get their act together and figure this whole thing out, it's going to have to be a state solution to the local problems. So, pension conversation, hardly over. We'll get more information on that study from Ken Block and invite him in And I think we're going to talk to him tomorrow today on the radio from noon to 3 on WPRO as well. All right, down in Baltimore, it's brewing and it's getting tough. CNN.com headline in the Freddie Gray story. Another victim here at the hands reportedly of police. CBS gives you the highlight of what's happening.
Mourners lined up to pay their respects to Freddie Gray. Friends and family celebrated the 25-year-old's life at a funeral service at New Shiloh Baptist Church in his hometown of Baltimore and called for justice for his death.
Hold those that need to be accountable in Jesus' name.
Gray died from a spinal cord injury sustained in police custody. His death has sparked daily protests. Saturday, a large demonstration turned violent. Protesters looted stores and clashed with police. More than 30 people were arrested.
What's kind of interesting about this, both the mayor and the police chief in Baltimore are African American. So, for lack of better thing to say about it, at least we have a community versus the establishment problem here. What we don't have is a white-black issue here. I don't know if that makes you feel any better, but it's worthy of noting. And speaking of worthy of noting, this was pretty funny. Cecily Strong, the SNL comedian, was the lead speaker at the correspondence dinner the other night. Well, the president was the lead speaker, but she did her bit, and then she talked about Hillary Clinton and the competition she has for the Democratic nod for president.
But Hillary Clinton has her work cut out for her. Her Democratic challengers are a who's who of who's that. Jim Webb, Lincoln Chafee, Silas Phelps, Peter Wilkes. Now those last two were characters from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. But you didn't even notice, did you? How about that? Lincoln Chafee thinking he can be president is like watching a dog look for its dead owner. Like, oh, he doesn't know.
That's brutal. Like a dog looking for its dead owner. Poor guy, he doesn't really understand. It's a new way to explain Link World, Cecily. Thank you very much. Your state of mind is important to us. Telephone number is 228-1886. Leave us a voicemail. stateofmind@myritv.com is the email. You can tweet or Facebook post. Don't forget the E in Dan York Show. What do we have tonight? We've got this. Alex writes, I long for the day when a classroom teacher is invited to speak on a local TV show. Hashtag teacher voice. Buddy, are you kidding me? Call us at 228-1886. Email me at stateofmind@myritv.com. Public school teachers, any day, every day. We have a dynamic where most public school teachers hide behind the unions and don't want to talk about anything in public. The invitation is wide open. New state rep. Next, stay with us. We got to meet the new reps when they're elected because we need a fresh perspective in the General Assembly, no doubt. Sherry Roberts is brand new. She's an elected Republican in West Greenwich and Coventry, and we congratulate you on winning.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Are you having fun?
I am.
Yeah? What's so fun about being a rep?
It just is because I think I like people. I really enjoy them, and I really like helping them. So I'm always looking for another avenue of ways to help them. So I think for me, that's fun.
What was the thing that got you the win over Lisa Tommaso?
I think what it might have had to do with is probably the fire issue that's going on with the firefighters and the pensions and all that. So
we were just talking about Johnston's challenges. Obviously, the Coventry Fire District has been a, whew. Well, how much of Coventry do you have in your district? A lot?
I do have a lot.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably almost half of Coventry. And
Okay.
I know that Patricia Morgan has a section.
Right. Which
Bobby-
fire district is yours?
29.
No.
I'm in District 29, but Hopkins Hill,
Okay.
of course, West Greenwich is all volunteer. And I think that's at Hopkins Hill for Coventry.
So what about that issue do you think put you over the top? You had a position on it?
Well, I know that I want to help the people. What I was hearing at the door is that when I was knocking on people's doors, that they were upset with the rep, that the current rep at that time, because she had voted against their will. So that's what I was told, and they wanted somebody who would listen to them.
So you were able to take advantage of a kind of referendum on the incumbent.
Correct.
Which happens. All right, cool. Before we get going here, you've got this thing going on in the neighborhood or something. You brought a photo. I guess this is no laughing matter. Let me see. We've got a photo somewhere. What is this? Who is this guy?
Yes, this is apparently the guy who has been stalking the neighborhood. And actually, when I was supposed to make an appearance here back in January, I actually was home the night before on my couch talking to my sister on the phone, and I kept hearing this noise, but I just thought it was the cat outside, so I just sat there and continued talking, and finally it got so loud that I said, hang on for a second, I'm going to bring this cat in the house because she's driving me crazy. And so when I got up, I have this huge picture window right there, and I got up and I went to go and look at the cat, and I saw somebody standing on my step, and it shocked me. So I called the police, and I reached over and I locked the door real quick because I live in an area that it's a good neighborhood and these things just don't happen. So that night I really didn't get much sleep at all. I had to call, have somebody come over because I didn't feel safe at that point. And come to find out, I went to talk to a neighbor the next day who told me that somebody else, her friend a couple roads over, had somebody also up on their porch. So then...
This has been going on for a while?
Yes, it has.
All right, well, bringing it down to, because it just dawns on me, I make no representation that I know anything about that photo. That photo is a neighbor's photo?
Correct.
Have the police seen that photo?
Yes.
Have the police alerted the public that they're looking for this particular gentleman?
I don't know if they particularly alerted them, but I have spoken to the chief from West Greenwich and also Coventry, and they are aware of it, and they have also increased the police presence in the neighborhood.
Okay, so I make the show makes no representations that whoever is in that photo has done anything wrong, but you're suggesting what to? What would you like to tell everybody?
Well, first of all, news in a rural area just doesn't travel that quickly. So I've been on Facebook and I've warned people and everything, but this guy, it looks like he is coming back. You know, he'll give it a break, he'll come back. So because of that, I want my constituents to know, especially in my neighborhood, that this guy is out there running around. We want to find him, and if they hear anything, they see anything, to report it or get photos, but please do be careful.
Okay, well, we'll, there you go. That's what you've done, and you've alerted them. You know what, we'll take a break here. We'll come back, and where am I? I'm on this camera? Thank you, Ken. We'll talk some issues with the brand new state rep. Stay with us. Sherry Roberts is the newly elected state rep in West Greenwich and Coventry District 29. And you've got a couple of key issues. You're big on the dog breeding thing, correct?
I don't know why you say, well, you mean as far as that...
The discussion of pit bulls and all that kind of thing?
Yes, I guess Pawtucket is trying to bring back that ban on...
Well, they lost that case with the new legislation that was passed, right? That did not allow for them to be grandfathered or for them to supersede state law. So
correct, but I think they've resubmitted legislation Bill H 5800.
Oh, that one
yes.
got by me. Okay.
Yes, that I guess they're trying to bring back the breed discrimination, which I'm against. I'm getting flooded with emails from my constituents asking me to oppose that. So
because they know you have pit bulls or a pit bull? Or?
I do have a pit bull.
Okay.
Yes.
You brought what's his name?
Angus.
Angus. We have a picture of Angus somewhere here.
Yes.
Somewhere these dogs are very controversial. Is Angus very nice? If I walked up to your driveway, he wouldn't be.
No, he's not very.
He wouldn't take my knee out. He wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't guarantee that he would.
You wouldn't guarantee. No. In other words, so it is dangerous to walk up to him.
Well, he's not dangerous. I just he's okay with me, of course. That's my dog. But if a stranger were to come up in my yard, like whoever's lurking my neighborhood, he might not want to approach when he sees that dog.
All right. Well, you know, last segment guy, we don't know who he is. Beware on that situation. What is your point in this legislation? What do you want to see done?
Well, it's not my bill, but I've been told about it because of my constituents bringing it to my attention. And so I will oppose that bill if it even gets through committee and comes to the floor. So that's what I plan to do, is just oppose it.
All right. And you've
So-
got some other things that you're working on in terms of protection for women and the like, yes?
Kids in particular. I do have a bill out right now that would, if passed, it would allow parents to be able to obtain a restraining order in the case of where they have a minor that's being pursued by a potential sexual perpetrator, or somebody that's just a great age difference, like a gap. For example, a 16-year-old girl, a 24-year-old guy, in an inappropriate relationship that the parents perceive or deem to be inappropriate, that they would be able to obtain a restraining order. Because normally, I guess right now, if they were to go to the courthouse and say, for example, I'm to go to the courthouse and try to get a restraining order to keep a guy from my child, a 16-year-old daughter, it's not possible. They're not going to grant me that request. So this legislation would change that if passed.
Well, that's a fascinating talk radio conversation, I am sure, because let me tell you something, my daughter's no longer 16, she's 20, but if she at 16 came home with a 24-year-old guy, I'm not so sure a restraining order would be necessary, if you know what I mean. But I get it. So parents have no way to jam that guy up and to keep him away from the house.
No, they don't. I know people that this has happened to, so no. It's surprising, but that's the way it is.
All right, so those are two of your important projects. Got to talk to you about what's going on. What do you think about this Paul Sox deal?
I don't think it's a good idea. Nobody wants that, so I don't know. I don't like it. I'm not going to vote for it if it comes up. You know, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens to it with it. I don't want to vote for that, but I from what I'm hearing, when it comes time to pass legislation and the budget comes up, they try to work deals where, okay, you're going to have to agree to this, we're going to put this in it and that in it if you want us to pay that bill. I mean, pass this bill, then you have to agree to this to pass that bill. This is how they work things in here from what I'm told. But to me, I'll wait to get my bills passed if it means that I have to vote against or vote for something to approve something that nobody agrees with.
Okay, so you're going through the ropes of learning how the deals are made. But tell me, what essentially is wrong with the Paul Sox ask right now, in your mind?
It's more money out of the pockets of taxpayers.
What would make it better? An even, Steven deal? Would you accept the subsidy in this form? Just no charge for land, no taxes, but no, without the payments that they're looking for. Is there something that you would say would be proper for the state to partner with this project?
Well, to be honest with you, I have not looked a whole heck of a lot into this deal, so I would have to read up more on it and know more about it before I could really say clearly, you know.
All right, so what's the moral of the story in your first couple of months as a state rep? What have you learned in 30 seconds or less?
About the process of how bills get passed. That's interesting. You know, where it goes, a lot of bills are introduced, but they have to go through committees. They're assigned to different committees, and a lot of them never even make the floor. So it really depends on whether they get past that committee or not.
You happy you're in?
Yes, definitely.
Liking your gig?
Yes.
All right, well, be careful in the neighborhood.
Yes. So I thank you actually for allowing me to bring this up, because I just want people to be safe. I want them to be aware of it.
All right, we'll verify with the West Greenwich Police this week to make sure that we're on the right track. I'm sure we are. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, one more thing. We come back. Program note, Governor Raimondo tomorrow, 7:30 and 11:30, right here on Dan York's State of Mind. See you on the radio tomorrow at noon on WPRO. Good night.